So I guess this is kind of a follow-up, but it also answers a few questions I know you've all had. First off, yeah, we got arrested. Well, no, not really arrested. But the police were not pleased to find us in the Family Dollar. I guess we triggered a silent alarm when we came out of the bathroom, and the response time for this side of town was pretty stellar. We submitted, because what else were we going to do? We had been through the ringer, and we were in no mood to fight the cops. They cuffed us, patted us down, and took us to the police station. Buddy got to ride in the empty canine unit cage, his dog having been left at the kennel for the night. They put Gail and I in the back of the same car, and as we rode, Gail seemed to be telling me to keep quiet with the looks he gave me. Fortunately for all of us, we'd left everything in the beyond when we had traveled the last time. We didn't have the backpack of incriminating items that we couldn't explain. We didn't have the homemade weapons or the flashlights, and we had come through with nothing but the things we'd gone into the bathroom with initially. This worked out for us because it meant that I still had my wallet, my phone, and my punch card from work, the one from the night that I had worked. I assumed Gail had some sort of wallet on him, men his age usually did, and hopefully Celine had some kind of ID on her as well. I had noticed that both had emerged in their uniforms, and I wondered what the police would make of a pair of Dollar General employees being in the Family Dollar after hours. We were all loaded into little rooms and left to wait for about 15 minutes. That's when a guy in a sheriff's department uniform came in with a cup of coffee. I didn't know how you took it, so I put some cream and sugar in and added a piece of ice so it wouldn't be too hot. I thanked him, the coffee going down a treat, but the real surprise was how much I enjoyed the sound of an unfamiliar voice. I had spent what felt like years listening to the same three people, and one had been little more than incoherent babbling. I'd missed new people, even just the overheard side conversations you picked up on while you were out and about. It was like music to my ears. So, I don't know if you're aware, but your family declared you missing about 6 months ago when your boss said you'd missed 3 days of work in a row. They found your car in the parking lot of a Dollar General, but it was closed for the night. They searched around the store, the surrounding neighborhoods, and finally, even inside the store, but no one found so much as a hint of what had happened to you. Now, you show up with 2 other missing people who have been missing a hell of a lot longer than you, in the bathroom of a Family Dollar that sits across the street from the store we found your car in front of. He looked over the top of the file folder at me, clearly hoping I would connect some of the pieces for him. So my main question is how? I waited for him to elaborate, but when he didn't, I just shrugged. How what? How did you manage to reappear after 6 months in a store that had been locked up for the night, in a bathroom that had been checked out and signed off on by the manager before he locked said door and armed the security system? I've got him in the sergeant's office, and he's telling us how he was the last one out of that store, and there was no way that he missed 3 grown people and a dog in a bathroom built for 1 person. So either you guys just dropped out of the sky, or... But at that point, someone new pushed their way into the room. Someone in a suit, with a smile off a crest box. "I'll take it from here, officer. There's been a mistake. Someone is waiting for you in the sergeant's office. Someone who can explain everything." The deputy looked at the man skeptically. "And just who the hell are you?" "My name is Mr. Washington. I work for a special interest group, someone with information on what's going on. This man is to be turned over to my custody immediately. It's all in the paperwork you'll find with your sergeant, I assure you." The deputy looked like he intended to argue, but his radio chirped about that time, and his supervisor told him to come to the office to sign some paperwork. "Sir, I've got a suspect in room..." "Doesn't matter. Mr. Washington is going to take over from here. Now I need you to come and sign some forms, ASAP, deputy." The deputy licked his lips, clearly not comfortable with the situation, but he got up and headed for the sergeant's office. Not before one last word on the matter that clearly didn't impress Mr. Washington. "Don't move till I get back. I want to make sure this paperwork is on the level before I just let you walk out of here with a potential suspect." Mr. Washington smiled, but it never reached his eyes. "Of course, we'll be right here." The deputy left then, but he never came back to make good on his threat. Mr. Washington watched the door for a count of 5 before turning back and gracing me with one of those smiles. "You have been to the beyond, haven't you?" I started to tell him I didn't know what he was talking about, but when he reached up and pulled out the wire to the closed-circuit camera, I got a little scared. Anything could happen without the cameras watching. "I hear it's nice this time of year. Always such a nice place to visit, though you likely wouldn't want to live there." I watched him move about the room, his movements precise and contemplative, like a predator stalking prey. Have you been there?" He smiled wistfully, but whatever he was thinking of didn't seem to strike him as completely happy. "Not for many, many years. Congratulations on escaping, by the way. You're one of about 8 humans to escape the beyond in the whole time it's been in operation. The number was significantly smaller until tonight, though we aren't counting your furry friend towards that number." I watched him as he paced around, realizing it reminded me of something I'd seen recently. A little too recently. Are you one of those numbers?" He smiled then, his eyes sparkling like the reflection of a tar pit. "Oh no, kid. I'm a native." His smile was likely meant to be disarming, but I could see the barely contained want behind his form. Had he created this form himself? Was it something that had been given to him when he poured from that dark place I had only recently escaped from? How did something like him adjust to being in a body so small? "So, how long did you spend there?" he asked, still pacing, ever patrolling. 6 months, according to the police at least." "Not quite as long as your friends in the other room, though still impressive. You know, most of our guests are taken within a month. Generally, when they run out of food, my people come to take them before they starve. Then they reset the store so no one questions why they're suddenly arriving in an empty store. Most of our guests never leave their own store. Fewer than 10% travel to more than a few stores, but you and your friends, you found the secret. By continuing to move, you eluded our notice. Oh, and that trick with the home store," he laughed, like he had said something terribly funny. "That was brilliant. No one has ever had the foresight to do that. Gale, he's been on our radar for years. Celine, too, but we couldn't find them. Do you know how infuriating that is? We own the space. We control the beyond, but that wasn't good enough for them. No, they grabbed a hammer and a chisel and carved out their own spot. Do you comprehend how difficult that is? Do you understand how complicated it is to travel through thought alone, let alone to take things with you? Oh man, and you went outside the store." I jumped when he slammed his hands down on the table. For a moment, it felt like the whole room shook. His face was rapturous, but I could see his rage at odds with his curiosity beneath the surface. No one has ever gone to the outside and come back again. No one, not a single guest, has ever done it. You're unique. A true survivor. I tip my hat to you." I was speechless at his intensity as it settled over me, unsure what to say. This close, I could see his skin pulsating and writhing, like a mask full of angry bees. He wasn't used to these kinds of emotions yet. That much was clear, and it was threatening to unmake his disguise. I suppose there weren't a lot of emotions involved when your life consisted of stomping around an endless wilderness or through the monochrome store on patrol for intruders. He seemed to be aware that he was lingering too close and turned a step back towards the door. He put a hand on his temple, his face doing that weird, jittery thing again, and he seemed to be having trouble keeping himself together. The dichotomy of this creature was truly terrifying. It was like watching a mental patient shift between personalities. And I hoped I hadn't escaped the beyond to die here to this wolf in sheep's clothing. "So I suppose the question is," he asked, turning back to me, his slightly dopey smile back in place, "what are you going to do with the information you have about the other place?" There it was, the threat I'd been waiting for. "Before you say anything," he said, reaching into his pocket and coming out with an envelope, "I've been authorized to give you this." He tossed it onto the table as if it were nothing, and I was a little afraid to take it. "Think of it as compensation for your time. It's more than you would have made in the 6 months you were outside. Probably more than you would have made in a year at that shitty little job, but it's our way of ensuring that you get back on your feet. We took into account that you probably got evicted from your place when the rent stopped getting paid, impound fees on your car, things like that. If you don't go wild, you could probably take a 2-year vacation on just what's in that envelope and be fine. I suppose, however," and the smile dribbled off his face with the same suddenness that it had appeared, "that you might also consider it hush money. We know about your little internet story, but that cat is already out of the bag. Hell, tell them about this while you're at it. It's the internet, kid. No one believes this kind of thing. I would expect you not to try talking to anyone who might believe you, or I'll have to come back and have a very different talk with you and your friends." He looked at me as if he expected me to argue with him or try to be brave, but I was honestly terrified. I thought it would all end once we were out of the Dollar General beyond, but it sounded as if it might never truly be over. "I can tell by your silence that we understand each other. I'm sure you'll never have to see me or my associates again. Have a good life. Try to forget what you saw over there. And just get back to normal. It's healthier that way. Oh, and we hope this won't affect your patronage of Dollar General in the future." He left then, but I could almost hear the smile that was spreading across his face. They cut us loose not long after that. Gail and Celine were waiting for me in the lobby, and after some paperwork and some fees changed hands, a very happy Buddy was brought out as well. I used my phone to call an Uber, and the 4 of us found a motel for the night that would accept animals. Once we were behind the door, Gail asked me if I had received a check too, and all 3 of us pulled out identical envelopes. My amount was a lot lower than Gail and Celine's, but it was still enough to live comfortably for a while. Gail and Celine had enough money to buy a house, a car, get IDs, and still retire comfortably. We're not sure what we're going to do, but tonight we're planning to get some shut-eye and figure it out tomorrow. Once again, thanks for sticking with me, and I'll have more updates soon. Until then, do yourself a favor. Stay out of the bathrooms and watch yourself around the Dollar General. You never know where one quick trip might take you. You're still here. Thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague here. Always a pleasure to see all my new and old viewers coming by for another one of my spooky tales. If you'd like to support the show, you can always take part in one of our channel offers through Fume or Aura, or you can just click on another video when they come up. I'd really appreciate it. For our newer viewers, we also have lots of playlists and other things if you'd like to get caught up. I know some of my series have been going on for quite a while. If you'd like to get my latest book, there's a link down below that'll take you to my Amazon page. Towesey Homestead just came out, so if that's something you'd like to get your hands on, go ahead and have a look down there. If you'd like a signed copy, you can go ahead and email me from my email address on the site, and I'll get with you about shipping information and ship you a signed copy. If you'd like to support the channel in a more monetary fashion, we also have membership through YouTube, and we've got a Patreon that you can get the information for in the description. We have lots of tiers and everything to suit your needs. Patrons that support on the $10 tier, that's our Ghostly Reader tier, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep. As you may have noticed, there's a list of patrons and members on the screen, and I'd like to personally thank every one of them for taking a hand in the future of this channel. Well, that's enough for tonight. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.